Okay, we'll start this meeting off. Before we do roll call, I want to read off, on April 14th, the Haymarket Town Council held a special meeting to adopt ordinance 2020-002, continuity of government. This ordinance allows a public body and its subordinate bodies to hold public meetings electronically and remotely. The Architectural Review Board is holding its meeting this evening to consider two applications that are nearing their deadline. We have 2 members joining the meeting remotely through Zoom. These members are joining remotely to maintain the social distancing guidelines due to COVID-19. During roll call, these members will state where they are joining from. Okay, let's go through roll call, please.
She's muted.
Here via Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Larson,
Here?
Schneider,
Here.
Carell,
Here via Zoom.
I'd also like to just add for the record that we do have one participant, Sean Landry, a citizen and an applicant here with us also via Zoom.
Okay. I guess we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Little lag.
Amen.
Okay, we got citizens time. I don't have any citizens in-house, no one on Zoom, so I guess we'll move on. Minute approval.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the minutes. I'm prepared to make a motion. I move that the Architectural Review Board approve the minutes of the February 19th, 2020 regular meeting of the Architectural Review Board.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second. Any corrections before we vote? Okay, since we are remote, I'm going to do a roll call vote on everything just to make it clear on record. So if we could do a roll call vote, please.
Bearwusick,
Yay. Yay.
Larson,
Yay.
Carell,
Yay.
Schneider,
Yay.
Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item, ZP 2020-005.
Okay, so it's been a little bit, but back in, I believe it was January, we had Sean Landry come for his waste management receptacle at the QBE building. We, as a board and staff, worked through this application, and it was decided then that there was an approved application for screening, including landscaping, for a dumpster pad that was to be located in the front grass area, if you look at it to the left of Cookies and Cream. Due to some discussions, this has now changed, and the dumpster will be put in the rear for the time being where it's currently being kept. So there is an amendment to the existing application. The amendment is, one, that the location is changed. 2, the screening will still go up around the 3 dumpsters as you see on packet page 7. And then he is asked not to install the landscaping as this sits on asphalt and the landscaping would not necessarily be needed in this area. If you look, I did provide a supplement map of the building top down. If you see over on the right hand side near the tree line, you'll see a little red kind of U shape. This is where the existing dumpster is located. And I'm going to scoot over and show this to Julia and Ayush. But if you have any questions, Sean is here via Zoom, and is most likely happy to answer for you.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started, I needed to make a disclosure. Sean Landry and I are friends. I am frequently at the property helping with various projects around the site and the property, and our families socialize on a fairly frequent basis. So I will be abstaining from the vote tonight. I do not have a financial interest in this application, so I do feel I can contribute to the conversation, but when it comes time to vote, I will be abstaining.
I would like to add a couple more things. I apologize. It's been a little bit since I wrote the report. I will be working along with the town engineer, with Sean, to work on a potential future site plan amendment, and that is when the former application for the dumpster pad will come into play. The pad is there. It was installed. We had some discussions with Sean as well as some concerned citizens, thus we got to this amended application stage. So I will keep the board updated as that comes to fruition, but for now I am in agreement that this is an adequate solution. I think it's needed, especially with our bear problem that we're having throughout town. Specifically, QBE property has suffered from this pretty badly lately. So I am in support of this application being approved tonight.
Do you want to start off?
Has this gone through Planning Commission, location and all that stuff, since it does look like it's placing kind of right on the border, so there's no build back or anything?
So since the dumpster pads are existing as is, it's hard to see exactly. My red line kind of dropped down right on top of, but there is a small area between the property line and the edge of the dumpster. This specific amended application has not gone to Planning Commission yet. It's part of the overall site plan.
Ms. Chairman?
Emily?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean. Sean?
I'm just wondering, will this require planning commission? This was the dumpster location when I purchased the property in 2012 from the school department. So we hadn't moved it. What we did is we did improve it a little bit since we inherited that property when we purchased the property. We're basically, with the challenges we're having with moving it to the other side of the property, as we discussed last time, we're just trying to find a way to add some screening, since the warden department told us that it was, quote unquote, mandatory for us to do some screening. I'm kind of caught in between a rock and a hard place. The location on the site plan requires us to demo a building in the back of the property and move this, which is, I don't think, an ideal location. In the long term, I believe the long term will be relocated at this location. Parking and this is abutting the property edge. However, the site plan does have an 8-foot fence that was required to put in, even though the adjacent property was commercial. At the time that I went through my site plan, for some reason, Prince William County still required me, in anticipation of that becoming residential, to do a buffer fence, an 8-foot buffer fence, because we were so close to the property line, in anticipation that that might become residential, which it ended up being, that we do a fence along the back of the property anyway.
How close are you to the property line? Do you know, inches or feet?
I believe it's a few feet. We're waiting for some of the final surveys to come through, but I believe it's a few feet to the property line. Not many. It may be 2 or 3, but it's not much.
Yeah, I just want to make note, Sean, we're not the deciding body when it comes to this, but I would like you to be aware of it, just so that You know, if we approve something, it's strictly just for the visibility of it and not positioning, but I'd like people to be aware of that.
Right. So after speaking with the business manager back in February and March regarding this application and some of the obstacles that we went through, we as staff came to an agreement, myself, the business manager, and engineer, that this amended application, since they were using the existing dumpster site that was, as he mentioned, the location when he purchased the property, we were okay with him bettering the dumpster location with the screening after he got approval from the ARB, and that we would address the other dumpster pad and future dumpster pads in any future site plan amendment.
With a minute. So at the end of the day, the last site, the last dumpster location exceeded the 2,500 square feet required for planning board approval, which was an oversight on my part. We were trying to add space. If you remember, we were talking about adding space for feasibility of getting into the dumpsters without hitting the sides. This dumpster space has been existing impervious space since I've had the property. So we're not changing the site plan, impervious, or anything. All we're doing is adding a fence. Adding a fence should only be ARB requirement, and a final approval should be only the jurisdiction of this board. Correct?
Correct.
Correct. Yes.
Well, I'm happy with the decisions that we've made in the past on the structure. I do feel that no real vegetative buffer is required, since it is kind of in the back by the building. I'd like to get some of the board members' points of view.
So part of the discussion last time was the context. On the other side of the building, there's some discussion in materials, should it match either the QBE structure, which is a brick structure, or match the cookies and cream, the bungalow structure, which is wood. And I think the compromise we had was a wood structure that had some architectural detail. And then the vegetation was acknowledgement of the proximity to Blight Drive and visibility from Washington Street. So I would agree, in this location, I do not see a sensitivity to require any sort of masonry or other sort of enclosure. The 8-foot fence should provide some screening from the property to the east. Its distance from Washington Street, I think it's unlikely to be viewed once the paneling is up. And then from the southern, or actually from the northern side, Alexander's Keep, there's enough distance, and I think there's some buffering and screening that's required along the northern property boundary that would provide some visual screening of this, but it's a considerable distance away. I did walk the site before I came to the meeting. The width of the pad is about 27 feet, or no, about 28 feet versus the 25 we approved before. And then Mr. Landry mentioned that in this case they wanted to go to 10 feet instead of 8 feet. So we would probably need to note that for the record. Pending everybody else's conversation, I was just going to suggest that we go through the previous motion and just strike those elements of the previous motion that are no longer apply, and then just re-adopt the motion. That might be the easiest way to do it. Thank you.
Julia, Ayush, any input?
Just to clarify, we're saying that we're not wanting any extra vegetative buffering to cover from because it can't be really that well seen from Blight Drive or Washington Street. Am I getting that right?
That was my position, yes.
Okay. I mean, I think it's kind of like the preferable side of it, where it is a dumpster at the end of the day. So how much beautification does it really need? So I mean, I'm fine with it.
Julia?
Yes, in addition, so I have it here. You're saying that it's going to have a fence in 3 sides, right?
Correct.
Yes.
No doors. John?
Sorry, no, we are planning to have doors, secured doors. We'll have, so we are also additionally planning to have motion lights and cameras to be able to keep a lot of the, we do have another problem with a lot of the community dumping in our dumpsters, which hasn't been brought up yet, but, at this point, the bear has been the biggest problem that we've had. So we will be having doors with secure location. We will have motion sensor lights in that area, so it's going to be more of a secured, illuminated area. But it's in the back of the property. That doesn't affect the townhouses behind us or Blight. It's completely blocked from those areas. We're mandated to build a fence down the side of the property, so even the townhouses behind us should be blocked from all that.
Right. That was my only questions.
And very similar to the doors that we discussed, where it will be the same matching wood panels inlaid with the steel structure out. The only difference that we're thinking that we will have taller steel poles that will have cables to help hold the doors from sagging, right? So they swing very easily. We have some very small people that use that facility, and we want to make it very easily accessible.
Sean, that cable would be on the inside of the door. That wouldn't be visible from the outside, correct?
It would be on the top of the door to the post.
Okay.
It'd hold the outer side of the door.
Okay.
So, right, holding that outer edge, the hanging edge. If you see a lot of these dumpster doors, they have wheels and what have you to help that outer edge, which cause a lot of friction, right? When you're trying to open the door, and having the cable from the top is a lot easier to kind of hold the door. But I mean, it's a small cable rope. It's not really visible.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to suggest, I have the previous motion up. I was going to suggest we kind of go through each element and then either agree to keep it up or take it down. Okay.
Please
So-
proceed.
Okay. The previous motion, the first part, Commissioner Correll had moved to approve the dumpster with the following conditions. First, the structure will be comprised of solid board screening with flush boards. This is still the case? Okay. Good. The panels will have a crosshatch detail, one per panel.
Correct.
Okay. The panel shall be no larger than 5 feet in width. Still works?
There's a little variance, but I mean, we're within a foot or two of that, if that's okay.
Should we say 5.5 or 6 feet then?
I would say 6.
6 feet, okay. Posts will be between paneling, and each post will be 6 by 6.
Yep.
Panels are 6 inches off the ground. That still works?
Okay.
Okay. Each post will have a cap on top and will be black in color.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Wood will be stained dark brown to match accents on current structures.
Correct.
Okay, so we want this to be stained, we don't want it to naturally, okay. The door for the enclosure will be steel framed, set with wood,
Correct.
with a cable, a support cable.
Yes. With a support cable. Support swing cable.
Support swing cables. Everything will be set on top of a concrete pad.
Correct.
This next line I think will need to be stricken, but I will read it anyway. There will be a 3-tier landscaping plan that will be installed on 3 sides of the enclosure except for the doors. We will strike this condition.
Correct.
This will be planted in the springtime and will be maintained for the life of the structure. Again, strike this line. The total height of the fence will be 8 feet. This will need to be amended to say 10 feet.
Correct. 10
Okay.
10 feet 6 inches.
10 feet 6 inches. And then what is
You have the 6-inch clearance on the bottom, so 10. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
10 feet, 6 inches? And then the width, what would be the width of it?
The width of the board?
We have 20, I'm sorry, the next, so that's the end of the previous motion, but I think we need to talk about the dimensions. So 10.5 feet in height, 28 feet in width, and what is the depth? Is the depth still 10 feet?
I think the depth is 15 feet.
15 feet, okay.
And the reason for that, we will be, again, separating out, we do have a oil-based grease recycling that will be back in the back unit. So I think it's important to have that depth.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think that's it. Any other commissioners or panelists?
I think that hits the details. Okay. So I guess if we can throw a motion out there as amended per,
I'm abstaining, so I can't make the motion.
okay. Of course, I always prefer not to since I'm chairing. Ayush, Julia?
Okay, I move a motion to approve the COA CP 2020-005. I have my notes here. It would be an enclosure. My God, my notes.
Could I make a suggestion? Could you just say, as amended or as discussed,
As read by
as read by
Board Member Schneider.
Board Member Schneider?
Oh, as read by Marchand.
Okay, got that?
Okay.
Got a motion
Yep.
Okay, I'll second it.
and a second. Last chance for discussion. Okay, let's put this for a vote. Roll call vote, please.
Corral,
Yes.
Cabarrus,
Yes.
Larson,
Aye.
and Schneider.
Abstain?
Sounds good. Sean, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate you taking your time.
Absolutely, thank you, and I do appreciate you guys doing the video conferencing. This is really cool.
Okay. So, next application, ZP 2020-006.
Okay, so this application is for Ash Salon, which is located over at the old bank building diagonally across here from Town Hall. And Ash is applying for signage on her new space there that she has. And in the packet on page 21, you'll see I did have an email chain with the property owner, and they did give the approval via that email that they had looked at the application and they were fine with everything. Also, just as a little side note real quick, as far as the parking lot sign was concerned, this was something that came up previously in discussion. As soon as Ash gets her approval on the front sign, they're going to change everything out at the same time because they had the same sign company. So with that being said, if you look at the pages, let's see, 23 through 26, you'll have my report. And on package page 20, you have the images of the sign. So what they would like to do is take their sign from the old tenant space, which was over here on Jefferson Street, back behind, I guess, what used to be the optometrist there. And they would like to reuse this signage and move it to their new facility. So one thing to note here, they did choose the Tomaha font, which is one of our approved fonts in the guidelines. However, I just wanted to call to attention that the lowercase a in Ash is not part of that font. This was a discussion we had back in 2017, and it was part of her logo that she had branded herself with. And at the time, the ARB chose that that was all right because it was now part of her logo. She had already invested a lot of money into her branding prior to that point. So they chose to take the sign as you see it here, and they broke it apart from what it originally was. If you look closely at the left-hand door, that's the original composition of the sign. So the word Ash is on top with a line, and then salon and spa below. So they're just kind of trying to rework it and make it fit. I did have a discussion today with Marchant. We had some discussion about the spacing, it not being centered, things like that. There is an emergency light there above the door, but I supplied the board with extra photos. Ken and Marchant, your photos are there on the dais. It shows the building as a whole, and then it shows a close-up of the front door. Julia and Ayush, I emailed this to you guys this evening. So
Yeah,
what I
so-
wanted, okay. So what I wanted to kind of talk about is if you look there at the front door photo, right above the front door, they had in the packet, it's painted yellow, so that's the plan that they're going to go with if approved. They have very limited space between the front door and the railing of the deck. So this really limits where they can configure their sign. She did ask if she could replace the words Old Bank Building. That was turned down by her landlord. So she's kind of limited to the space you see there on the photo of the whole building. She's limited to the left wing of where she can put her signage. So with that, I will leave it up to the board to discuss your thoughts. And I did let them know they did not need to attend tonight due to COVID, social distancing, and their comfort levels. So I will take anything back to them and discuss it with them further as needed. Does Julia have a question?
Emily, if I understood you correctly, you said that this right here has been shrank.
So that is that right there, that is just reconfigured from where it was on the old building. So it's still the same size as it was on the old building, they just changed how it's laid out. And so one of the discussion points is right after the H, right there where your finger is, there is an emergency light. And so Ash is kind of off to the left more than salon and spa. So it's not centered well on the top of the door due to the size of the signage.
And they like that?
What'd she say? It would be like that, yes.
I mean, have they thought about the possibility of maybe like having an H in the middle, or would that, I guess, that would mess with how it looks too much?
I think that could be up for discussion.
Yes.
I think the furthest that I had gotten with the applicant was mainly that they're trying to save cost and reuse, but that if they had to, they understood if they needed to modify the sizing and do something new. So they wanted to try this approach first.
I think as it is, if I think as it is, it looks the look of it. It is kind of
It's off in a really odd way that it's kind of, it's weird to say, but it's kind of grating to look at. Just it feels awkward
Yes.
to look at.
it does. I mean, I understand the reuse and recycle concepts, but in this situation, it's not fitting.
Ayush, were you thinking that it's because it's not centered? Is that what you're saying?
I think it might be because of the because it's not centered. Plus the emergency light just in the middle of it also really throws it off, I think, as well. Which, I mean, not much I think you can do about that, but I think the biggest issue is the fact that it's so off-center.
If you look at the picture of the whole building, do you guys see any other opportunities for where it could, is there another location that you see a better opportunity?
I have an idea if this is moved, the S will be up there, and this can be like right here on the side. You know, like a little block. That will mean another. That would be, you know, a different sign, not the reusable. This one. Did you understand, Emily?
Could you say
And
that
Mark?
again, Julia? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
You don't understand?
I'm sorry, could you say it again? I'm sorry, I think I understood what you said.
Yes.
We're looking
what-
at the side, I got my, turn it sideways here, so I can see.
What I mean is, you know, I mean, the sizing on this is good. If it was you know, center in the middle, and the salon plus spa, like right here,
Go to the side?
to the side of the door, you know, ash.
So have
Well, what-
ash along the top and then salon and spa on the side?
Yes, marking, you know, the door, the top of the door down.
Another thought that I had discussed a little bit with Marchant today was maybe we reach out and we ask if there's an opportunity for the emergency light above the door, maybe if it's relocated, or if you kind of look closely at the photo I sent you, there's 3 lines of brick and 1 accent line. So maybe they could bring it down even 2 lines of brick and have more room above, or do they move it up higher and center the sign any better?
I mean, if the emergency light can't be moved and it puts their signage in the center, I think that's probably like a decent compromise to come to. Where not, because I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day, they can reuse the signs that they have, saving money, and also it won't, you know, it'll still be centered and kind of just look better for the town in general.
I almost wondered with Julia's ideas, you have ash above the door, and then on the eastern facade, put salon and spa up on the, see what I'm saying, on this, so on the end of the building, on the eastern facade, kind of break it up, have ash, and then have salon and spa on the side, so you kind of get 2 frontages now. I don't know if the zoning ordinance would allow that or not. Julia, what'd you think of that?
I think it would be much better than this.
Okay.
Yeah. So question, if they were to try to center ash, let's just say that they can't get that S around the emergency light, what would be a second option that you guys would recommend? Just trying to think of all the different hypotheticals.
So I think when you and I had spoken before, if they had centered it, if they centered the whole sign, the light would almost be between the H, the uprights of the H, and since they're already painting over the red, see if they can paint the light to match. It looks white, looks like it might be, I don't want to be insensitive to the cost associated with moving the light, but it seems it's a lesser thing to deal with than to try to move the sign around. So that seems the path of least resistance. But you're right, I don't see an alternative. If you center just ash over the top, then yeah, you're gonna almost have to take the light off and reaffix it to the S and then paint it black.
Yeah.
So, I think stepping back a second, one of the things I had looked at was all the other, I guess you call them scallops, all the other arches over the windows are painted red. And right now, over the door, the arch is red. At first, I'm like, well, is that going to make it look odd visually? But if you notice, the arches above the windows are a different arch and more elongated than one over the door. So, in my opinion, changing the color above the door makes sense. So from that regard, I think it's fine. One suggestion of moving ash higher up and then the Salah and Spa, we talked about this too, I think, and that there's simply not enough room. You have that dental molding right above the door, so it would be really cramped to have ash, although, do you think, what's that?
I was just gonna ask, do you guys maybe think, you could always put that as one of the options?
Okay.
Kind of like a third option of they could keep salon and spa on one line like they had on their old logo. And then if they just make just the 3 letters ash smaller, that could maybe work?
Yeah, or just see if it can fit,
See if it can fit?
run the
Okay.
numbers, so.
So that would be a different, not the recycling.
Well, I think they could recycle where they take this, because the salon and the plus and the spa are all separate letters, right?
Yes, so everything, the nice way she designed it, everything's a separate letter so that they can take it and reconfigure it all on 1 line, 2 lines. They could make it vertical, they could make it horizontal. They have a lot of different options.
I guess the idea is whether or not we can follow what Marshawn and Julia were saying of fixing ash on the top, where up in the arch, and maybe having salon and spa on the side. If I mean, I don't know how. Let's see, 24. Do we know what the size is of that side section next to the door? Like how large it is, or whether or not it can fit
If
the 24 inches?
If you look at one of the photos I sent you, Ayush, you can kind of see that right beside the door, the tall 2-story part of the building juts out some, and so you can get kind of a better idea of how wide it is. I'd say it's maybe half the width of a door, maybe 2 feet. It's
You think?
Yeah,
like 2.5 full bricks.
I think if you put it on the side, though, at least if you put it
Yeah,
on the
I
right
think it's about
side.
almost 2 3/4. So I mean, if it fits, I don't see why not. I think the problem still comes up about the light fixture, and I think that is a bit of an issue of how it's going to look, whether or not we need to like remove it and put it on top or hide it somehow. I'm not entirely sure what the best option would be there.
I see what you're saying. So, Mr. Chairman, back to Emily's suggestion, I guess it sounds like we have a couple of options. One, simply center it over the door and move the light, over the light, and then paint the light, or figure out a fixture that is of a similar color, or can be painted a similar color. That's option 1, perhaps? Everyone agree that's one option? Okay. Option 2 would be to move ash up and then we'll go ahead and put salon plus spa along the bottom. That's likely in conflict with the light, but that's one option we can approve, and then they can decide whether or not they want to move the security light.
Yeah, if you move it up, I think you're probably going to have to change the size of ash, though.
Okay.
Because I think if you look at the H, it's right on that
Soldering.
soldier course. Yeah, and it looks like the soldier course is right underneath the dental molding.
Gotcha.
Is there a possibility of moving the emergency light possibly to like the side angle so that I guess that would be far too much to do, I guess. Never mind.
I think that emergency light it would be hard to move because this building is really old and they will have to break down a little bit more
Yeah.
on the inside, and on the outside the brick will suffer some damage, and it will not be like this.
Okay. Well,
One thought, sorry to interrupt. I assume that they did the best they could, the sign company, to scale the sign to the building, but there's a chance that maybe the letters could be a little smaller than, you know, how they appear here in the picture too.
That was my thinking, that maybe once you put it up there, maybe it's within the dimensions.
Because she's saying that the inn is 6.25 inches, the inn and salon. And so I'm just trying to think like what 2 bricks, and I know all bricks can be different, but you know, maybe it appears a little larger than it actually is.
Good point. Well, that's just simply an option, and if the option's not viable, then they can go to one of the other ones, right? So option 2 would be to raise ash, put salon and spa along the bottom. Option 3 would be to center ash over the door, and then the salon spa letters. Ayush and Julia, was that to move it to the salon spa to the right of the door or to the left of the door?
I mean, as they please.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
I
it would
think
be,
right would be preferable.
okay.
it looks like it might get squished there, though. I mean, tough to tell without seeing it to scale.
If the ordinance allowed it, I kind of liked Marchant's idea of maybe you put it on the end of the building if the ordinance allows it and the property owner were to allow it.
So either on the eastern facade, or what about the inlay of that might be too much. If you put it on the inside corner here, so as you're walking to the door, you can see it on the bump.
I even wondered if, you know, her space is the entire first floor. I even wondered if, as you approach going east, if you put it on this side of the building, because if you're going to Gainesville through town, you're not going to see the sign ash above the front door until you're past it. I mean, she has that hangout one from the building, but I wonder if something on that facade.
On the eastern facade. So that's option 4, I guess. Given plenty of options tonight. So option 3 was center ash and then salon spa to the right of the door, if it can do it. And then the 4th option would be salon and spa on the eastern facade, kind of almost of a equivalent elevation. So if it's right here, you would just simply move it across and around the corner and be of the same sort of elevation. Does that make sense? So height.
Just a point of information, what was option 1? Was that having the H straddle?
Yep, just
The
center
light.
it, and then if they can paint this, I mean, it'll look odd having the fixture between the uprights of the H, but if you can paint it the same color, then, or find another fixture that's not as, that can match.
Yeah, if it's LED, you probably won't have a heat problem, but if it's not, you might have a heat problem.
That's true.
Real quick, just as an aside, in the motion, can you guys also call to attention the painting of the semicircle there, and if that is something that's approved?
That was my earlier comment where I'm of the position that it is appropriate to go ahead and change the color because it is a different architectural feature than the other arches that are painted red, yeah.
Can I just run through each of the options real quick, make sure I got them right? Okay, so I have option 1, ash. Ash would be scooted over with the H straddling the light. Salon and spa would still be approximately where it is, maybe a little bit more to the right. Option 2, ash would move above the light. Salon and spa would be under the light. Option 3, ash would be above the door, centered. Salon and spa would be to the right of the door, if it fits. And option 4 would be ash above the door, again centered. Salon and spa could be relocated on the eastern facade at the approximate same height of the ash sign.
Correct. I think option 1 is just centering it. I think if it requires either sign to move, it's just centering it over the door so that if it goes over the door, it's equal dimensions on either side.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're just adjusting the spacing between Salon and Spa and Ash to match sides.
Correct, center it over the center of the door. That neither dimension exceeds the width of the door.
Are you guys okay with the black lettering still?
I have no issue with it.
I have no issue.
Okay. And one other question, they did not ask for it on this one. I don't think there's room. It adds another wrinkle to what y'all just discussed. They did have like a gooseneck lighting on their old building. If there were a lighting option, you want them to come back and we discuss it all. I don't think anything's gonna fit there.
Yeah, and gooseneck would kind of conflict with the light styles that they have on there.
Yeah, on the, yes.
Would you, I have the train passing by right now. I can barely hear anyone. Can we just take 1 minute until the train passes?
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you, and I apologize, but I live right behind the train tracks.
Yeah, I can hear the
You
low
can-
rattle.
Yeah, you can faintly hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've sat on my back porch before on the phone, and I keep talking. I've gotten so immune to it. And said, I can't hear you. There's a train. Is that right next to your house? No.
All right, it just left.
That's the 7 o'clock, or that's the 7:45 train?
They are inconsistent in the time.
Yeah, so I don't believe there would be room for a gooseneck lighting, and as you were saying, Chairman, there, if you look at the photo of the whole building, that would probably take away from the nice sconce, do you call them sconces? The light fixtures that are between every window.
Yeah, I don't think the gooseneck lighting would kind of mesh with the rest of the building at least as it stands.
Yeah, it's more modern. It would solve the security light problem, but and then you wanted us to, Emily, you want us to agree that the color is appropriate?
Yes,
So
please.
then, okay.
All set for a motion, or anybody else have any comments?
I don't.
Nope, no more comments.
You might have to tweak my draft motion a little bit to include the draft, or the options, but I do have them drawn out so I can talk them over with her.
Okay. Let me grab I seem to have lost my agenda.
So
Do you want this page?
we are to
Sure.
give a choice of option 1, option 2, and option 3 to the business person. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yes.
There's no further questions, Mr. Chairman. I'll take a stab at a motion.
Please do.
Okay, I move the board approve ZP 2026 for the applicant to install the proposed signs as presented in the applications on the old bank building at 14945 Washington Street, and as amended to include one of 4 options. Do you want us to read through those options, or options as described in the meeting? To include approval of changing the color of the arch above the door to match the color of the building.
We got a motion
Second.
and a second. Last chance for discussion. Let's put it up for a vote. Roll call, please.
Corral,
Yes.
Rivera-Warsack,
Yes.
Larson, Schneider.
Aye.
Okay. Now it's moving on to the bylaws.
Mr. Chairman, not to keep kicking this can down the road, but for the expediency of this meeting and the times that we're operating, I was going to suggest we table that till a future meeting when we can all meet together.
Okay.
Is this a motion?
A recommendation at this time.
I don't think we need a motion, we just need to agree to table it to the next meeting.
Since it's an agenda item on minute chart, why don't we do
Table it
a
until
motion
we
to
meet in
table-
person? Is
Okay.
that
If
the
that's
suggestion?
Since it's
Or,
an agenda item, can we make that a motion?
Sure, I'm sorry, Ayush, we were talking about, suggesting that we do make it a motion.
we do make it a motion? Yeah, my question was to table, the question was to table it until the next meeting. That's my question? Like where we meet? in
Well,
person, or-
let's go ahead and, my suggestion, we move it to after the limit right now, which is June 10. Let's move it to our June meeting. And then if we have items next month, we're limiting it to the action items.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, let me expand on this. So most of you know I work for Loudoun County, and part of what's happening under the emergency order is that we're taking action on action items and applications that have deadlines and need to move forward. So that would be my suggestion, just to move it till June after the governor's order ends, and then we can reconvene in our normal meeting. So I would move that the ARB move the discussion of the ARB bylaws until the June ARB meeting.
A second.
Got a motion and second. Any comments beforehand? My only comment is, I think it would be best, since we don't have a full house, I would like to have a full board when we do discuss this. Okay, that's all I have. We'll put it up for vote. Roll call vote, please.
Correll,
Yes.
Bear-Wozczyk,
Yes.
Larson,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Okay, next agenda item, new business.
I just wanted to let everyone know that I am continuing to receive some applications in. All of the ones that I have currently are halfway complete. We're waiting on a couple items from the applicants, so I do expect that these will be completed and ready for my review to start in the next week or two. When that does happen, I'll notify you, Chairman, so that we can have a discussion of, do we hold a May meeting, or are these okay for a deadline to make it to June? And we can just go from there on that. Otherwise, that's all I have. It's just a couple sign applications and one fence application for a Green Hill Crossing home.
Okay. Any questions for, I guess, any of the new business items? Nope. And we'll move on to old business.
It's been a little bit since we met, but just an update, the hotel is working through their final stages at the building department. They received all their outside agency comments, everything was approved, so they are moving along. We do not have an expected construction date as of yet. I know before COVID, they were hopeful to start in April, but with April ending next week, I do believe it'll be later in the summertime. So as I know more, I'll keep you guys posted, but as for now, that's it on the hotel. Marias Vineyard, as you guys have probably all seen, maybe driving by, they're really moving along, finishing up. They were able to continue working during everything going on. They're finalizing their paving this week and next, so that the driveway and the parking lot area are all done. And then I hope that as soon as everything is lifted, that they too will be opening up and open for customers in the June timeframe. Oh, thank you. The Pardo House, I have been in contact with Ms. Pardo. For those listening who don't know the Pardo House, that's the gray house with a bright red roof. They're on Washington Street next door to Marias Vineyard's tasting room. They do have a piece of plastic that has come down. I have notified the property owner. With everything going on, we're trying to work with her in a very friendly manner and not be issuing zoning violations. Her contractor is having some difficulty getting out here to secure the building. I'm trying to stay in as much contact with her as I can, but it has been a little challenging with everything going on. So we've let her know that she needs to close it up. the windows on the second floor as you drive in towards Gainesville area is where you can see it. And she does plan that as soon as summer hits, they're going to continue work. But again, with COVID, I don't know exactly where they're at now, unfortunately.
Quickly, for us to use the blight ordinance, we'd have to violate them, correct?
That is correct.
Is there any ability to, I guess we don't have the support staff anymore that was doing a lot of the public works work. I just got to believe it would take all of 5 minutes or 10 minutes to put a ladder up and reattach it, so.
I can reach out to her. I can see if that's something that she would allow, you know, for somebody, you know, to do, or if we can give her the name of another contractor maybe who's willing to do it, including the people who did some of our public works projects. Maybe that might further encourage her. I'll have another discussion with her, telling her we're really trying to avoid this blight ordinance violation during this time, and we're trying to work with her to see if we can get somewhere.
Okay, appreciate it. It has no trespassing sign on it, obviously.
Right.
But with our, I
Just
guess,
hate for the rain and,
Yeah.
and stuff to get in
exactly. But with our landscapers having the cherry picker trucks and those types of things, if it's just a matter of, you know, say we'll hold you harmless, you know, can we spend 5 minutes, go tack it back up, and it should be done. So thank you for
Okay.
looking into it.
Yep. That's all I have for old business.
Okay, planning commission update?
There's really been no update. We haven't had meeting for like the last 3 months, I think. It's been canceled, so really no update.
Okay, I don't know where this question falls, if it was really an old business or town, but, you know, we were supposed to have a joint session before this all happened. Is that still going to be on the books, or?
Yes, so we will do a joint session. We still want to work on that item for the comprehensive plan historic chapter, as well as our ARB contributing resources list. That is something that whenever you feel comfortable holding a work session just for even the ARB, we can start that. For right now, the chairman of the planning commission, since they don't have any applications before them that need to be acted on, he has chosen that they will not meet until after the June 10th order, when we can reevaluate the situation. He did not feel it was necessary to call in everybody to meet during this pandemic just to talk about the comp plan and try to hold a work session, especially with more than 10 people in attendance.
Yeah,
I agree.
and I agree, yeah.
So we're hoping if everything goes as planned and, you know, everything's okay, maybe June or July, maybe July we look at that.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. No Susan Edwards, so I guess, Emily, since you're the closest, you will be town council update. Kim, you don't want to do it?
So I'll do my best. The last couple meetings, I've been kind of mediating the Zoom, so I've been trying to, you know, pay attention to that. I might not have gotten all the hot items, but we have had a couple more town council meetings this past month due to everything going on with COVID. They did call a couple special meetings in order to pass the continuity of government, allowing themselves as well as the board and planning commission the opportunity to meet and utilize the electronic Zoom. We are currently going through the budget and the tax rates right now. They also had discussions on how to help our businesses, what we can best do to provide them more resources as well as support during this difficult time. We did have a meeting last night with the town council where the tax rate was adopted, right? It was adopted, and it was adopted at 0.136. So that is their most recent update. That's the equalized rate. They will have a budget public hearing on May 4th. That's their next scheduled town council meeting, regularly scheduled town council meeting. We'll do the same platform here where we have Zoom. We encourage all of our citizens, anybody who wants to participate and speak, who doesn't feel comfortable coming in, to join us on Zoom. And we call on them as they sign up. So if you guys have anybody, any residents, neighbors that need that information, please share that with them or have them contact us and we'll help them out. So that's about everything for town council.
Okay. Next agenda item. The big, the one, the only.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. I don't think we need to roll call this, do we?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you guys for joining us on Zoom tonight, and we'll be in touch.
Good to see you guys.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yep,
You too.
You too.
See ya.
Emily?
Bye.
Emily, would you like this back or you want me to?
You can.